Camilla married into the royal family in 2005. She thought the hard part was over. She was wrong. One woman, Diana's former sister-in-law, spent the next 20 years publicly reminding the palace who Camilla replaced. Not with words, with protocol, with body language, with the only weapon the royal family truly fears, a princess who knows how the system works. Princess Anne and Camilla go back to the 1970s. Same circle, same man. Camilla had an affair with Anne's brother, and Anne watched it destroy Diana's marriage 15 times, from the love rectangle to the coronation to right now. Number 9, what Anne said the night before the crowning left Camilla stone-faced. Don't leave before number 15. That one proves she never stopped. Number 1, the love rectangle. In the early 1970s, Princess Anne was seeing cavalry officer Andrew Parker Bowles. Camilla was also seeing Andrew. When Andrew left Camilla for Anne, Camilla's revenge was to start an affair with Anne's brother, Prince Charles. Royal biographer Penny Junor confirmed. Camilla thought, Andrew is off with Princess Anne. I'll teach him a lesson. She didn't fall for Charles. She weaponized him. And the woman who started that affair as a jealousy game eventually became his queen. Anne saw where this road started, and she never forgot the woman who put Charles on it. Number 2, Anne watched Camilla destroy Diana's marriage. Anne and Diana were never close, but Anne was close to Charles. And she saw what the affair did from inside the family. Royal biographer Ingrid Seward noted that Anne once considered writing to Charles about his constant criticism of Diana, which she had witnessed firsthand. She saw the damage up close. When Diana died in 1997, a source told New Idea that Anne was speechless with shock and deep down regretted not making more of an effort with her. That regret became fuel, the kind that burns slow and never goes out. And everything Anne did from that point forward traces back to this moment. The moment she decided she wouldn't let Diana be forgotten. Number 3, Anne chose Diana's boys. After Diana died, Anne went straight to Balmoral. She told ITV in 2017, I don't think either of those two would have been able to cope if they had been anywhere else. Charles was consumed by guilt. Anne focused on William and Harry, on Diana's children. She didn't go to comfort her brother. She went to protect Diana's boys, not Charles's sons, Diana's boys. That tells you whose side she was on before the ground had even settled. Those were the roots. 3 moments from the backstory that explain what came next. What Anne did at Charles and Camilla's wedding. That's when private loyalty became public warfare, and every single one from here gets more damning than the last. Number 4, the curtsy document. When Charles married Camilla in 2005, the Queen's private secretary drew up a document titled Precedents of the Royal Family to be Observed at Court. It spelled out who would curtsy to whom. Anne requested, and received, a written guarantee that she would never have to curtsy to Camilla. A former courtier confirmed, this was done at the behest of Princess Anne and Princess Alexandra, who saw no reason to make obeisance to this highly unpopular woman. The courtier added, Princess Anne, in particular, was extremely chilly towards Camilla and made it clear she had no intention of curtsying to her, ever. She didn't whisper a complaint. She didn't send a private letter. She had the Queen of England put it in writing. Her new daughter-in-law would never receive her curtsy. While Camilla was shopping for a wedding dress, Anne was rewriting the rules of royal precedence. She went to the most powerful woman on earth and said, I need this in writing. And the Queen agreed. That alone tells you how unpopular Camilla was inside those walls. And that document, it still exists. Right now, somewhere in the royal archives, there's a piece of paper that says Princess Anne will never bow to Camilla. Anne made sure of that before the ink on the marriage certificate was dry. Number 5, the frosty wedding photos. Body language expert Judy James analyzed the photos from Charles and Camilla's Windsor Castle blessing. Her verdict, The Queen and Philip stood back and away from the couple on the steps, which prevented any happy family photographs, and it looks very much as though Anne is equally unwilling to look anything more than frosty. The Queen didn't even attend the civil ceremony. Anne attended, but her body language broadcast a message louder than her presence. She showed up, and she made absolutely sure the photos told the truth. The cameras caught what Anne wanted them to catch, a family that was not celebrating together. Those photos will be reprinted for decades, and in every single one, Anne's face tells the real story. She didn't boycott the wedding. She didn't make a scene. She just stood there and let her face do the talking. Sometimes the loudest protest is the one that doesn't make a sound. Number 6, the garter ceremony barrier. Weeks after the wedding, at the order of the garter service at Windsor Castle, Judy James spotted something remarkable. Anne stands closer to her brother to apparently push Camilla out of the small group, even raising her arm so that her elbow forms a barrier gesture. She physically positioned herself between Charles and Camilla, a barrier gesture, the body language equivalent of a wall. And she did it at one of the most photographed ceremonies in the royal calendar. Diana had been dead for 8 years by this point, but to Anne, the seat next to Charles still belonged to someone else. The barriers, the frost, the repositioned elbows, all of it was for the woman who should have been standing there instead. Number 7, the opportunistic verdict. In 2021, a royal insider told New Idea that Anne has always found Camilla opportunistic. The insider continued, Anne rarely gets any alone time with her brother because Camilla is always there. Reports also said Camilla wanted Anne to simply let go of any past resentments, but the princess was still holding on to rooted grudges. Rooted, that was the word they used. After 16 years, Anne's feelings about Camilla hadn't softened, hadn't mellowed, hadn't budged. This isn't a mood that comes and goes. This is bedrock. And if you're keeping count, that's 7 public moments now, 7 pieces of evidence from 3 different decades, and we haven't even reached the coronation yet. Number 8, the not a natural compliment. In the 2023 BBC documentary Charles III, The Coronation Year, Anne said this about Camilla. Her understanding of her role has been absolutely outstanding. This role is not something that she would have been a natural for, but she does it really well. Listen to that again. Not a natural. Go ahead and call it a compliment, but a natural for the role would have been the woman Charles married first. Anne said she does it well in the same breath as she's not a natural. And that's the Anne method. Compliment and cut simultaneously. The kind of thing you can't call rude, but you can't unhear either. And anyone who loved Diana heard exactly what she meant. 3 words. Not a natural. 20 years of body language and legal documents suddenly had a caption. That's 8. A love rectangle, a destroyed marriage. Diana's boys protected. A legal document. Frosty photos, a barrier arm, rooted grudges, and a compliment that cuts. You can't call 8 pieces of evidence a coincidence. That's a pattern. And the next 2 aren't pattern pieces. These are the moments that shook the palace. Number 9, the Coronation Eve confrontation. This is the one. The night before the coronation, a banquet was held at Buckingham Palace. The room was full of royals. The mood was celebratory. Tomorrow, Camilla would be crowned. Tomorrow, she'd officially become queen. And then Anne spoke. Princess Diana's former dressmaker, David Emanuel, told GB News that Anne confronted Camilla directly about her title. His words, apparently the Princess Royal said, "You're not queen, you're the queen's consort." The NZ Herald reported Camilla was left stone-faced. On the eve of her own crowning, with the robes pressed and the crown polished and the whole country watching, Diana's former sister-in-law looked her in the eye and said it to her face, not behind closed doors, at the dinner table, in front of the family. She wasn't joking. She wasn't making small talk. She was drawing a line. You can wear the crown, but you will never own this title. Diana once said there were 3 people in her marriage. 28 years later, Anne told Camilla there were 2 kinds of queen, and she wasn't the real one. Number 10, the coronation horseback power move. At the coronation itself, Anne wasn't in a carriage. She wasn't in a pew. She was on horseback in full military regalia as gold stick in waiting, the king's personal protector. She rode behind Charles and Camilla's carriage, leading 6,000 armed services personnel. A source told the Daily Mirror this was a reward for her loyalty and unwavering devotion to duty. Look at the image. Camilla sat in a golden carriage dressed in finery. Anne was on a horse in uniform, physically guarding the crown. One was performing royalty, the other was embodying it. Diana would have laughed at the contrast and said, "That's what a real princess looks like, on a horse." Leading from the front, and leading for the woman who should have been alive to see it. Camilla got a carriage and a costume. Anne got the mission, and everyone watching knew which one Diana would have been proud of. Anne smiles at Camilla in public. She even said nice things on camera. But every smile is a choice. And 10 times now, when it mattered most, she chose Diana. 5 more to go. And number 15 is the one Anne does every single day. No cameras needed. The numbers speak for themselves. Number 11, the coronation portrait position. In the official coronation photograph, Charles and Camilla stood center. William and Kate flanked Camilla, and Anne stood directly next to Charles, at his side. Royal fans noticed immediately. One wrote, "Love that Princess Anne is right at the king's side. They were side by side in 1953 and 70 years on, remain the same." Another wrote, "Camilla may have his heart, but Anne is his rock." That photo will hang in palaces and be printed in history books for 100 years. And in it, Anne is the one next to the king. Positions in those photographs are never accidental. They're negotiated down to the inch. People fight for placement, and Anne fought for Charles's side, the exact spot where a queen should stand. Diana's absence in that picture is somehow louder than everyone who's in it, because Anne planted herself exactly where Diana would have stood, and everyone who loves Diana can see it. Number 12, skipping the curtsy at Commonwealth Day. At the Commonwealth Day service at Westminster Abbey in March 2024, GB News reported that Princess Anne did not curtsy to Queen Camilla. Protocol says anyone with an HRH title should bow or curtsy to the sovereign and their spouse. Sophie, Duchess of Edinburgh, followed the rule. She curtsied. Anne did not. GB News reported that Camilla turned around and began talking to someone else after the slightly awkward interaction. Same room, same camera, same protocol. Sophie bent her knee. Anne didn't. And before anyone says she forgot, Anne doesn't forget protocol. She lives it. She stood up when her mother called on the telephone. This wasn't a 73-year-old woman having a senior moment. She was sending a message. The 2005 document still stands in her heart, 20 years later, and she still won't bow to the woman who replaced Diana. Not in private, not in public, not in Westminster Abbey with the cameras rolling. Diana never got to see it, but if she could, she'd know that someone in that abbey still remembers who belongs there and who doesn't. Number 13, the protocol refusal at University of London. In November 2024, Anne and Camilla appeared together at the University of London, where Anne, as Chancellor, presented Camilla with an honorary doctorate. During the visit, Camilla invited Anne to enter a room before her, breaking protocol as a gesture of warmth. It was a small thing, an olive branch, a signal that said, "We're past all this now." And Anne smiled and politely refused. She insisted Camilla go first because protocol demanded it. She took the olive branch and handed it right back. And then came the irony. Camilla had to kneel before Anne to receive her doctorate. The woman who calls herself queen kneeling before Diana's former sister-in-law. Anne didn't accept the peace offering. She enforced the rules, Because the rules are how Anne fights. Camilla walks first, Camilla kneels. Both happened, both were public, and both sent the same message Anne has been sending for 20 years. I will smile. I will follow every rule to the letter. But I will never pretend you belong here the way Diana did. The rules aren't the obstacle. The rules are the weapon, and Anne wields them better than anyone. When Diana died, the palace thought the story was over. Charles would move on. Camilla would be accepted. Everyone would forget. But one person in that family never forgot. Diana didn't have many allies inside those walls, but the one she had turned out to be the toughest woman in the building. And she's been proving it on camera for 20 years straight. 2 more to go, both from right now, and both prove this war is far from over. Number 14, the Andrew Clash. After Prince Andrew's arrest in February 2026, Anne and Camilla clashed openly over his treatment. Anne believed Andrew had already paid a huge price and urged Charles to show mercy. Camilla pushed for a firm approach, reportedly appalled by Anne's intervention. A source told Spectrum FM, Anne doesn't think Camilla ought to have any say in this. To Anne, that's a real affront to the family. The source added that the old rivalry resurfaced. They managed to get past any bad blood, but this has dragged all of it back to the surface. Back to the surface, after years of careful smiles and polite distance. All it took was one family crisis and the mask came off. And look at what Anne actually did. She didn't argue with Camilla. She didn't even acknowledge her position. She went straight to Charles and said their mother would want Andrew treated fairly. She invoked the late Queen, not Camilla's opinion, as the moral compass. Went around Camilla like she wasn't even in the room. Diana spent years being treated that way inside the palace. Sidelined, overruled, told her opinion didn't count. And now Camilla's getting a taste of it from the last person she expected. Anne didn't learn that move from a book. She learned it from watching what they did to Diana. And now, number 15, the one that proves it's still happening every single day. Number 15, 478 versus 228. This one doesn't need a quote, a courtier, or a body language expert. This one is just math. In 2025, Princess Anne completed 478 official engagements. Queen Camilla completed 228. Anne didn't say a word about it. She didn't have to. The court circular said it for her. For the 4th consecutive year, Anne was either the hardest working royal or the second hardest, behind only Charles. Camilla ranked 5th. Those numbers aren't just statistics. They're a scoreboard. And 478 versus 228 says everything Anne has always believed, that royalty is earned through work, not marriage. Diana once said of Anne, "What she crams into a day, I could never achieve." That quote is from 1985, 40 years ago, 15 times, all public, all verified. From a love rectangle in the 1970s to the Coronation dinner to 478 engagements in 2025. Anne never said Diana's name. She didn't have to. Every curtsy she refused, every barrier she raised, every document she demanded, every hour she outworked Camilla, was for the woman who should still be standing next to the king. If you believe Diana has an ally in that palace, share this with someone who needs to know. And if you want to see what happens to Camilla when Charles is gone, 20 things she stands to lose the day he dies, that video is right here.